Welcome to the Reactor at Grand Central Tech. It's awesome to have y'all here. So we're going to get started a little late, as usual, but that just gave me more time to have a bite and grab a drink. So I'm going to start off by talking about why we do what we do. And there is a quote that I kind of like, and it's, every morning we are reborn. We've got bridges to cross and mountains to climb. The journey, it can seem long and daunting, but we've got to remember that those bridges are blessings and the mountains are motivation. So here we are in January 2017, on the verge of a new day, as a country, as a world, as a city, as a community. And this next day might be a little bit tougher than the last for a bunch of us. We're waking up to some clouds in the sky and an uncertain outlook. But what we need to remember is that we control ourselves. We decide how to spend our time and our energy. We, together, are very powerful. And in a democracy, we're what matters. Every single one of us matters. We need to remind ourselves of that every day. And we are where democratic power lies with the people. So earlier this week, I was at President Obama's farewell address in Chicago. And in it, he said, "I'm asking you to believe, not in my ability to bring about change, but in yours." For several years now, we at Microsoft have been engaging the New York City community because we understand that there are really hard problems to be solved, and we know that technology and innovation needs to play a role if we want to solve them as well as we possibly can, as thoroughly as we possibly can. So our Microsoft team is up here. It includes Matt Stempeck, Rebecca Garcia, Natasha Scantlebury, Briana Vecchione, and Ross Dakin. You're going to hear from each of them tonight. But our team also includes you. And while you're here tonight, we'd like to invite you to tweet using the hashtag #CivicDemo. That's hashtag #CivicDemo. It's going to be in the lower right on most of the slides that you see. Because we'd love to inspire people outside this room too, so that they think about how they can use technology to improve their communities. So let's do this together. Let's spread the word. Now, we created Microsoft's Tech and Civic Innovation team to be local, to start with the grassroots, to understand that change happens through people coming together and collaborating. When each person in each group brings his, her, and their talents to the table and their best intentions, that's when we can actually achieve something. So we started by listening. We tried to understand what different groups were bringing, could offer. And we identified good partners. We identified partners like the ones you see here, but far beyond this. And that helped us create this framework for how we think about our work. We think about what we can bring to the table. We at Microsoft, we've got people, we've got data, we've got tech. And the problems and the challenges that people really want to focus on, this is what we learned from our listening tour, are things like how to make data-driven decisions, how to effectively analyze the data at our disposal as a community, how to drive more jobs and skills here in New York City, and how to create more accessible communities. This is what we heard. So that's why we decided how we could engage was through these 3 Ps, as we call them. We participate, we're part of conversations. We partner, we identify who else is working on something, and we say, what can we bring to the table ourselves and offer? And finally, we produce. We prototype, drive solutions, and test them in the real world. We test them here in New York City. So that we're not doing this in a lab somewhere, we're doing it in the real world, so we can learn faster. Most recently, one of the things that we helped create was the space that you're in today, the Microsoft Reactor at Grand Central Tech. This opened a few months ago, and it's been fantastic. It's a resource for the New York City tech community. We've had the deputy mayors of New York and London here. We've had the United Nations Assistant Secretary General here. We have all of you here. And this is a place people can meet up, they can learn new skills, they can share best practices, things they're working on, or it's a place to just come hang out, have a cup of coffee, find out what someone's doing, catch up. This is a foundational infrastructure for civic tech. That's how we see it. And we're very happy that we were able to bring this into existence. We want all of you to come back a lot and use this space so that you can drive change in this community. And you know, the longest standing civic institutions here in New York City, they need tech too, because they want it to be effective and efficient. And if we want them to be as effective and efficient as they can be, they need technology to help them. So we worked with the New York City Council just a few months ago to pilot Microsoft Surfaces, these tablets that you see up here. So use these in the City Council because for hundreds of years, the City Council has run on paper. stacks and stacks of paper, thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of pages in a single meeting. Now, that's not environmentally friendly, but it's also not that efficient. In this day and age, we can update our information in seconds. That's not possible when you have to print out 10,000 pages and distribute it effectively to the right council member. So we helped them come up into the 21st century by using some surfaces. And what was awesome was that we were worried that maybe some of the more senior members of the council might not take so quickly to the new technology. They loved it. Those were the people who were most excited about this change because they'd been there for so long and they knew that it could be done better. So it's an example of innovating some of those long-standing institutions, not just the new ones that we're creating. One other thing that we've done at Microsoft is create the Civic Tech Fellows Program. This is a way where we can tap into some of the amazing people here in New York City, college students, grad students, early career, some of them technical, some of them more focused on the community, and they can come in to Microsoft for a period of time and work on these really hard problems, work with us, and then go on to other amazing things like working for city government, things like being a Code for America fellow, going to start their own companies. So a variety of different places that our fellows have gone. You see a few of them that are alumni, fellows emeritus in the photo here, and you're going to hear from a couple more this evening. So with that, I would like to invite Matt Stempeck, the Director of Civic Tech, to tell you about a really exciting project that we did with DataKind.
Thanks, John. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming tonight. So raise your hand if you've heard of DataKind. Great, yeah, they're an amazing nonprofit group based in New York, but operating globally with chapters around the world. And raise your hand if you've heard of Vision Zero. Cool, so pretty good on both. Good job, guys. Vision Zero is a campaign for safer streets. It started in Sweden in 1997, and it's called Vision Zero because it's based on the premise that maybe we shouldn't accept any fatalities in the way that our transportation system works. We should bring the number of deaths due to our roads down to zero. And it's getting a lot of momentum since 1997 around the US with mayors around the country, including Mayor de Blasio, signing on. What we wanted to do with DataKind was look at all the data that's created by our transportation, whether it's open government data, like the New York City's open data, or private sector data, if we can get companies to partner with us and share some of the data they might have on traffic in the city. And look at that data and see which policies, in New York City there's 63 policies around Vision Zero alone, which were most effective at actually reducing death and serious injury due to traffic. So we kicked off this partnership just about a year ago with DataKind. If any of you have attended our previous demo nights, you probably saw our former fellow Quan Butts did a whole project with Beta NYC in the civic hacking community to scrape MTA bus data. And DataKind built on that work and did a whole lot more, partnering with 3 different cities around the country. Basically, we took public and private traffic data, and we took kind of standard statistical models and regression models, and we looked at what are the effects of specific interventions in streets and intersections in different cities. So in New York City, we were mostly interested in intersections themselves and what measures like traffic calming or bike lanes might have on the number of deaths and injuries in those areas. We also worked with the city of Seattle, which is right near Redmond, which is Microsoft's headquarters. We do a lot of work on civic engagement in that city too. And Seattle was really interested in the mid-block between intersections. What are specific effects of different traffic calming features? And lastly, we partnered with New Orleans. New Orleans was interested again in the specific features, but the specific features of traffic and improvements to roads and what effect that has one by one in a discrete basis. Can you show a causal effect? So the good news is that the work is done, the findings are found, and and this is a little bit of a teaser, we'll be sharing the results in the next couple of weeks. It says with DataKind Labs. And what's really exciting about that is that we're already working hand in hand with these cities, and we chose these research questions and these data sources based on what questions the city can actually take on action on once we find out the results. So now we have the results, and the cities can adapt their policies and make the streets safer for all of us. So I just wanted to thank real quickly the team that did the lion's share of this work at DataKind with Aaron Akrid, Michael Dowd, Julia Rhodes Davis, and our colleague here at Microsoft, Elizabeth Grossman, who's in our DC office, really spent the year hand in hand with cities around the country. And we look forward to sharing that with all of you and with the public at large. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to my other colleague, Briana Vecchione.
Thanks, Matt. So as John mentioned, a lot of what we are responsible for is product, right? And that surfaces in a variety of different ways. That means that we manage hackathons a lot of the time. We participate, so we build products that help the general community. We partner with third-party organizations. And a lot of times, we actually build products in-house. So one of the products that we've been working on for a couple of years now is a product called Civic Graph. I know that a lot of you are probably familiar with the product itself. So I give you Civic Graph, a who's who and what's what of the civic tech sphere on a global scale. And we see a couple of use cases for this. So one might be someone who is not familiar with the civic tech space. I know not all of you here are within civic tech, and maybe you want to know who the influencing actors are in the space. So you might go on Civic Graph and say, hey, I see that this person is connected with this person in some way. That might be advantageous information for you to have. Conversely, another use case might be someone who is very well acquainted with the civic tech space and is looking for a specific advantage, right? So they're looking for certain funding from someone who's known to give grants of a certain type, then they'd go on Civic Graph in order to find more granular information like that. So some of the new exciting features that we've rolled out within the past couple months, we have a few big ones. One is the slider. So before Civic Graph, when you loaded Civic Graph, you would see all the entities that exist within a network. Now we are filtering it to only give you a subset of information that is the most useful for you, right? That information you are able to filter so that you can have more or less connections within any given time. Another exciting development that we've recently shipped is the development of an analytics network. And so we partnered with Microsoft's business intelligence tools called Power BI to generate some basic statistics and give you an example of the functionalities that Power BI generates. So we have just basic numerology. We have the list of entities, the areas of the world that have the most civic tech presence. We split them up into different types of activities. So who's the most connected, who has the most influence, who's on Twitter and is super influential. So little known fact, Ashton Kutcher actually likes to donate a lot to civic tech organizations. And in that influence, he is a big civic tech influencer. We also have funding information, so top grant makers and grantees, number of connections, et cetera, and then the latest people that are updated onto the graph at any given time. There's that. So we also made the development of switching from HTTP to HTTPS. This is important because it pays attention to security developments that have recently been made, so all of your activity on Civic Graph is now secure. And so Civic Graph originally, it started about a year and a half ago, and at first it was classified as just this, visualization of an otherwise invisible network. But it's progressed into more than that. While I've been on, we've developed it into more of a framework, a packaged, modularized framework that you can now extend to your own Civic Graph network. So the idea behind this is to modularize it. The great thing about Civic Graph is it's open source. You can go on GitHub. Those of you who are familiar with GitHub, you can pull down the code, make necessary changes, and ship it all within Azure. We're working on finishing up the modularization for that, so that's very exciting for us, especially as a contribution to the open source world. And we have also shipped a new feature called the check-in. So let's say that you wanted to visualize Civic Graph at a certain point in time, and you are an event space or you are a conference, and you're looking to see, okay, who exists in my network or who exists on any given day. So you'd be able to go into our check-in form. And this is an example, those of you who are familiar with Civic Hall. This is one that we built for Civic Hall as an example. And let's say that my name is, not caps lock, Jane Doe, and I work for Microsoft. I'm a guest, and I'm here to see John Farmer. All right? I'm inputting all of my information. There's a little bit more of information that corresponds with the type of information that Civic Graph collects, what kind of work I do, who I've collaborated with, what's my Twitter handle, et cetera, et cetera. And then once I have all of that information, I can check into the network, and the idea is that it powers then a graph like this. So it could be Civic Graph, but you could also have a graph for the legal sphere or the art tech sphere, or whatever kind of subnetwork that you're looking for. Lastly, something that we are excited about rolling out within the next month is the sharing of subnetworks. So you will now be able to share your own subnetwork within Civic Graph. So let's say that I want to see everyone who works in the for-profit and nonprofit world that gives or does collaborations, right? Collaborations between the two. I would be able to then take this graph and send it to someone else so that they could see it on demand without being able to filter or having to filter themselves. So that's something that we're looking forward to in the next few months. And this is really exciting for us because we're excited about the possibility of expanding communities and being able to visualize information and understanding the world around them. So thank you so much for putting up with the technical difficulties in our live demo. And without further ado, I will pass it on to Ross Dakin.
Thanks. I only have one slide, so hopefully I don't screw it up. Hi everybody, my name's Ross. I'm here to talk to you about Microsoft Translator. Raise your hand if you speak more than any other language than English. That's like half the room, maybe more than half the room, which is actually just about right because it turns out in New York City, about 49% of people speak more than English at home. And so our little group of 7 people in Microsoft Tech and Civic Innovation, we exist to take Microsoft's resources. We've got software, we've got hardware, we've got rooms like this, we've got money, we've got all kinds of sorts of things, and pair them with conditions that exist in New York City to make life better for people. So we said to ourselves, all right, half of New Yorkers speak more than English at home. One of the resources we have out in the Azure cloud are all of these language translation products. So we've got mobile apps for your iPhone, Android phone, Windows phone, if anybody has one. We've got downloadable apps. There's a web app. There are APIs that power all of these. We sort of eat our own dog food in that sense. So if you have your own applications that you want to translate, you can use the APIs through Azure to do that. And so we thought to ourselves, okay, how can we pair up this technology with this condition that exists in New York to make life better for people? And so one of the things that we thought about doing, which we actually ended up piloting over the last couple of months, was partnering with ID NYC. Anybody have an ID NYC card? Who knows what ID NYC is? It's this New York City specific ID card that looks like this. I don't know how many cities actually do that. Yes? Was that a question? Or? Oh, you do? Okay, fantastic. You very emphatically have one. I like that. That's awesome. So ID NYC, as a brief aside, it's awesome. So it's a way to identify yourself officially as a New Yorker, and the idea is that it's really easy to get, so you don't have to be a citizen. You might have been incarcerated for the last 20 years, and you're re-entering society. They accept lots of different ways to prove who you are. And once you have an ID NYC card, you get discounts at all sorts of shows and museums. You can pick up your prescriptions with it. It's a really nice way to receive benefits as a local, and also for the city to allow people to get an official form of identification without too much stress. So they have all these enrollment centers around the city, and people walk in there, and most of their staff are really great and speak multiple languages. But in New York, a city like New York, you get people walking in speaking Hungarian or Tagalog or what have you, and so they don't always have the ability to communicate with all of the customers that come in there. Most of it is straightforward, but when we partnered with them, we saw situations where somebody was trying to convey, yes, your utility bill is okay, that's good proof, but it has to be from the last 2 months. And that concept was hard to get across when there was a language barrier. So what we did is we set up 2 in each enrollment center, 2 surfaces like these with microphones, the way that they're using them there. This is Luis and Jacques. They work at ID NYC around the corner over at Mid-Manhattan Library, that way, wherever it is, over by Bryant Park. So that was one of our enrollment centers. The other one was AFI, Asian Americans for Equality, a little further downtown. And they piloted this for a number of weeks, and we saw that, I'm going to pull up my cheat sheet. They saw people using it for Spanish, simplified Chinese, traditional Chinese, French, again, Hungarian, Russian, Polish, all kinds of other languages. So that was really exciting. The reason why it's exciting for us is that this was the very first time this technology was released. The world hadn't seen it yet. And so the product team back in Redmond, Washington was really excited about getting real users using it and real feedback from the real world. So the overall satisfaction rate when people took some surveys about this was about an 8, and the UX, the user experience satisfaction, was about a 7 on average. And so we got really good qualitative and quantitative feedback on what we can do better. Some of the translations were pretty hilarious, the ones that didn't work out that well, but by and large it really helped people accomplish this goal in a nice way. So that's one example of how we are trying to use our resources, in this case, to increase equitable access to city resources, no matter where you're from, what you speak, what you look like, how you dance. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca, who's going to talk to you about Tech Jobs Academy.
I
wanted to share with you some of the amazing work that's going on behind the scenes about computer science education before I dive into Tech Jobs Academy. How many of you, out of curiosity, are computer science majors or have interest in computer science or interest in IT careers or professions? Okay, awesome. Well, you came to the right place. Civic Tech is the right place to be. So around the globe, there is this annual event called CS Ed Week, Computer Science Education Week. This past year, it was from December 4th to December 10th. And the idea is that everyone can get exposure to learning to code. During CS Ed Week, there was this awesome initiative called Hour of Code, where anybody can learn to be creative and build fun things, especially kids, so they have access to STEM education at an early age. Microsoft has done a lot of really great work to be a part of Hour of Code, whether that's hosting free workshops, and even here in our own city, there is over 1.1 million youth who less than 5% of the 1.1 million youth do not have access to STEM education or CS education in their schools. Just to give you an idea of, in our city alone versus the rest of the US and the rest of the world. So this type of access is really important. And so starting at an early age is really crucial to not only creating, a pipeline, but also seeing technology as a valuable skill. And so with that, I wanted to dive into some of the things that I work on in my day-to-day with Tech Jobs Academy, as well as Natasha Scantlebury, who I'll introduce. So enter Tech Jobs Academy. So we've set the foundation for this pipeline of learning to code, technology at an early age, and this rise of computer science education. But what about the folks who might have not had that opportunity? Maybe they had circumstances in their life that prevented them from pursuing that career or not having access to that education at a younger age. So some of these folks have come from different backgrounds, whether it's food service, retail, they've been unemployed, they've tried different things, they've tried different programs. How do we take them from just starting out and just getting by to becoming IT professionals? How do they become systems administrators, IT engineers, IT global specialists? This is what we've been doing at Tech Jobs Academy, creating that opportunity and allowing them to go from an average of $12,000 a year to $51,000 a year. This is a huge jump, not necessarily in money, but quality of life for a lot of these folks who come from so many different backgrounds. One of those folks, April, has an amazing story. She was, unemployed. She had been homeless. She was a single mother taking care of 3 children, and she was able to use Tech Jobs Academy as a stepping stone into, having a better future for her children and giving herself the skills and confidence that other programs didn't give her. And I think it's stories like this that are the reason why we do what we do. Not because we're just trying to create as many engineers as possible, but because we're really changing lives. Another graduate, Ezra, recently, within the year that he joined the program, had just immigrated to the US. He had an IT background, but hadn't been able to find full-time employment. Didn't know how to navigate the job-seeking process and didn't have the exposure in the US. And so Tech Jobs Academy gave him that skill set that allowed him to go from taking temporary work here and there to being employed full-time by New York City government. And so that for him was really amazing. So I wanted to introduce Natasha Scantlebury, a Civic Tech Fellow who has been working on Tech Jobs Academy and is going to share more about what this program is and how we can continue creating change through IT skills. So, thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca, for that introduction. How's everyone doing today? Good, let's get pumped. We're in a brand new year. And so taking a little step back, I'd like to talk a little bit specifically about the Tech Jobs Academy program. I think Rebecca did a wonderful job of highlighting some of the stories of some of our graduates. And I really want to take a little step back and just break down the program a little bit for you in the time that I do have. So the way that I like to think about Tech Jobs Academy is it's a call to action to President Barack Obama's, it's a response, I should say, to the call to action by President Barack Obama's Tech Hire Initiative. And if you don't know what the Tech Hire Initiative, it's an opportunity and it's a goal of expanding tech talent pipelines, right? So it's connecting really talented individuals with opportunity. One of the words that I hear thrown around all the time during my Civic Tech Fellowship is opportunity, and that's what we're doing with Tech Jobs Academy. We're connecting people who may not have had the opportunity to do great things for themselves and for their family. And Tech Jobs Academy, like I said, is definitely no different than that. So Tech Jobs Academy is a full-time technical training program that was piloted in 2016 with two incredible partners. The first partner is the New York City College of Technology, which is based in downtown Brooklyn, one of the best boroughs. If I do say so myself, Brooklyn is the best borough, but I digress. But that's where one of our partners is located. We like to affectionately call them City Tech. And then the other incredible partner is Mayor de Blasio's New York City Tech Talent Pipeline. Show of hands, who knows about the Tech Talent Pipeline? Okay, that's a good amount of people that know about the Tech Talent Pipeline. But for those of you who do not know, shame on you, you should know about the Tech Talent Pipeline. But no, in all seriousness, the Tech Talent Pipeline is an incredible $10 million initiative that the city of New York put out to basically support different technical training programs all across the city, Tech Jobs Academy being one of them. So when we think about the purpose and the goal of a program like Tech Jobs Academy, we like to think about how large and how diverse and how vast the New York City tech ecosystem is, and how much opportunity there is for the taking. What we've realized, however, and as Rebecca alluded to before, the tech sector was only once available to people with traditional pathways to technology. Think about computer science degrees. We wanted to shake that up and we wanted to change that narrative to fit the need of the people who really wanted to seek out these opportunities. So as I mentioned before, TJA was piloted in 2016, and we started off with two 25-person cohorts. Each of those cohorts spanned the course of about 16 to 18 weeks. And one of the great things about the program that we didn't mention before, but I would like to highlight now, is that Tech Jobs Academy is different to any other technical training boot camps in that, or it stands apart from these boot camps, in that it's completely free to all of the program participants, which I think is something important to highlight, just because some of the price tags on some of these programs can be a real roadblock for people who want to tap into these opportunities but can't afford to do so. So that's something that we're really passionate about, and we're really happy to say that all of our program participants, it was no cost to them to be a part of the program. So some of the eligibility requirements were you had to be 18 years of older, you had to be legally eligible to work in the United States, you had to reside in any of the 5 boroughs, preferably Brooklyn because it is the best borough. You had to have an interest in technology, regardless of if you were a part of the tech sector before or if you're changing career paths, as Rebecca alluded to. But you had an interest and a passion to get into the technology sector. And then the other requirement was you had to be at least unemployed or underemployed, because again, we really wanted to give people an opportunity who didn't necessarily have one to get one. So I'll just go over a little bit briefly about the curriculum. Tech Jobs Academy is specifically teaching IT professionals skills for cloud and server administration. So some of the technologies being taught, Azure, PowerShell, Windows Server is fundamental, the private cloud, and obviously the server infrastructure. In addition to some of the hard skills that they were learning, one of the great things about the program that we would like to emphasize as well is that the classroom lab work that our trainees were a part of, we like to have them mirror like real world experiences and real world scenarios. So the instructor of the program almost mimicked an IT manager on a team. And so that gave some of our graduates who didn't have these kind of experiences an opportunity to put themselves on the job and work out some of the problems that may arise day to day. And lastly, in addition to the hard skills, one of the great things about the program is we like to emphasize the soft skills. The soft skills being professional development training. So whether that's resume help, whether that is developing one's personal voice, helping someone develop their brand, helping someone understand the importance and the value of networking when they go to different types of events. These are some of the soft skills that we also helped our trainees and then graduates acquire. Key takeaways. Similar to our graduates, we are constantly in the pursuit of seeking out new information and constantly in the pursuit of trying to acquire new information, whether it be new information about the impact of our program on not only the lives of our participants, but the lives of their families, new information about the value of cloud and server administration in an ever-changing tech sector, and new information about the growth potential of career pathways in technology for New York City and beyond. What we've realized is it takes more than just a really great Microsoft curriculum to be a successful program. Some of our key takeaways include understanding and really learning the value of mock technical interviewing. Mock technical interviewing is similar to its counterpart, mock cultural fit interviewing, in that it helps to do a few things. Not only does it help to prepare folks for interviews and conversations with hiring managers, it helps to reduce the stress and anxiety that may come with all of that. It also helps them become a little bit more confident in their ability to showcase and demonstrate all of the great and powerful things that they've learned, and all the reasons why they will make an incredible asset to any company that they're interested in. But it also, what mock technical interviewing also does, it helps to help our graduates get more comfortable with not only the technologies that they've learned, but get comfortable with it in a way that makes sense to them and that they can digest it and that they can share what they know. Additionally, besides mock technical interviewing, another thing that we really realized was a key takeaway from the program is how important full-time commitment and how important grit and passion is to the program. When I say full-time commitment, I'm not talking about being in part of Tech Jobs Academy, which is a full-time program. What I mean by full-time commitment is being invested not only in the program itself, but in having a vested interest in themselves, taking themselves completely serious. For some, this is the first opportunity for them to really feel like the things that they're coming to the table with is making a huge difference. And instilling that confidence within them is really important for them to be able to be confident on the job. And the last thing that we found that was a really key takeaway was tapping into all of the three things that you see here on the screen. Beyond just the technical skills, beyond the soft skills, the community that was built in each of our cohorts was something that is incredible. And I can say from firsthand, just seeing how some of our graduates interact with one another, the community that they built is one of the most powerful tools that they have in their toolkit. After leaving the program and they go out to do their jobs, they have a network of individuals who they can call on for support. They can call on to say, hey, so this is the task I was given. I'm not really quite sure how to do it. Can you walk a sister through or walk a brother through? And that's one of the most important and powerful tools that they have. Also with regards to a community, besides the community that they've created, they've also been encouraged to seek out other opportunities to connect with people like you in this room. People who are in similar positions, who are looking for someone to help guide them, or looking for someone who is a little bit more knowledgeable and can share and impart that knowledge with them. Community is a very big, important aspect of Tech Jobs Academy, but more importantly, it's a big aspect of the work that we do at Microsoft, and specifically our team. We are one large community. We are all learning from each other. We're all taking from each other. We're all giving to each other. And we're all sharing with one another. So community is a big takeaway that we've learned from the program. New York City is fortunate enough to have talented individuals, like I mentioned before, talented individuals who just need an opportunity, who just need to be connected to an opportunity. And we're thrilled to be able to have launched Tech Jobs Academy in New York City, which is one of the biggest meccas of the tech ecosystem on the East Coast. But we're even more excited to see programs like Tech Jobs Academy, who are giving opportunities to individuals grow and expand. And we're so excited to see programs like Tech Jobs Academy expand not just across the country, but across the entire world. So now I'd like to take the time to transfer it over to our great colleague, Matt Stempeck. Thank you.
It's amazing stuff. Please share Tech Jobs Academy with anyone you know that might be interested, willing, excited about it. It's an amazing program, and it's going to continue going forward. So, little segue. Civic tech sometimes straddles into the political world because we're talking about engagement and citizen power and democracy, and that inherently involves elections too. This July, I was really fortunate to take advantage of a new policy at Microsoft that allows employees who've been at the company for a while to apply and take civic leave. And you're eligible if you're going to join a campaign on either side of the political aisle, or government programs like Presidential Innovation Fellows or 18F and U.S. Digital Services. And I was extremely fortunate because I felt called to action this summer to join Hillary for America and to stand in the way of the rise of Donald Trump. And the company let me go on leave to do that work. And I was doubly fortunate because I had a friend from DC Times named Jess Morales who had reached out to me. She's the chief digital organizing officer on the Hillary team. This picture here is the broader digital team's huge team, amazingly talented people across the emails that you got, the text that you got, the social media, a lot of the video production, the tools. And I was able to join a team of digital organizing. And digital organizing is basically using tech products and using online campaigning to reach people and reach voters and volunteers to get them to do the core things that you need to do in a campaign, whether that's recruit other volunteers or register people to vote or get them out to vote during GOTV. We were able to do all those things, and I just wanted to focus a little bit on the technology more so than the politics tonight, but highlight some of the things that I think haven't really been captured by a lot of the post-campaign debriefs where we've been focusing on the other issues at play. Just real quickly, my team of digital mobilization included folks running the SMS program. So did any of you ever get a text from Jess at HFA? You remember those? Yeah. Sorry, we're not sorry. There were a lot of them. But SMS really emerged as a powerful tool. It was, text is a lot more intimate than email, and so we used it differently. We did use it for fundraising, but it was also an incredibly powerful tool for organizing and for just asking people, especially in battleground states, to get out the door and do things. And we built that list from scratch to well over 1 million subscribers and used this mobile commons platform really effectively. And a lot of that work was not only Jess Morales, Rocketo, but also Lloyd Kotler on my team. But another cool, there have been mass texting campaigns before. So another cool invention this time around is a little more personal version of texting, which is a tool that we called Megaphone. The Bernie campaign used a similar tool that actually lets you text people one-on-one. And if you reply to that text, it's a real person on the other end. It'd often be an organizer in a battleground state. But then it would actually sync with our national data file and our analytic targeting. So you had the power of mass targeting and mass campaigns with an actual human relationship being built at the end of it. So that worked again on email one-to-one and also SMS one-to-one. And my friend and colleague Patty Rodriguez-Zabla, we stole her from Vice, and she took that program from a pretty creaky prototype and scaled it up to millions and millions and millions of messages going out to key battleground states. And then lastly, I just want to highlight the call tool that we had. Have you guys ever gone into a field office and done phone banking? Raise your hand. Anyone? Yeah. So that's a really powerful way to reach voters. Voters like hearing from other people, and the voice is much more powerful than an email or a text even. But if you live in a western state, it might be a 4-hour drive to the nearest field office. And it can be, also just a trying thing on your schedule. If you only have half an hour free, you might not have time to swing by an office. So we built a self-serve call tool where you can go on our website and start right from your cell phone calling through a list of targeted voters based on the greatest need, as decided by the analytics department. And what was really cool this time around is, that tool has been done before, but my colleague Ashley Cratch actually built the community around that drove, basically create a huge core of volunteers that self-organized on Slack and that we're ready to go on a moment's notice anytime in the primaries, in the general election, anytime we had a dire need to get calls out to a given area, that call to a community was there. And a lot of the innovation this time around wasn't just the tool, it was building teams, building leaderboards, actually encouraging people to stay excited and stay engaged with each other on what could be a pretty isolating volunteer experience if you're just home with your cell phone by yourself. So we were able to sort of bring together both the experience of being in the office, but with the convenience of being on your phone. So those are just 3 of the innovations we saw this cycle. And I think we're going to continue seeing and needing these technologies in the year ahead. So I just wanted to share them with you. And then, yeah, that's about it. So just wanted to share that little story. And then shifting back to the local scene in New York. Were any of you guys here last night? No? That's good. No overlap. That's good. So last night in the same room, we launched New York City Big Apps. Big Apps is the premier civic tech competition. It's been running for 7 years now, which makes it like a grandfather in civic tech land or grandmother in civic tech land. This is 2 years ago, John on stage with Mayor de Blasio. Big Apps has really evolved over the years. It was initially just an apps competition, build the coolest civic app you can with open data. It's become much more than that, and it's become a whole co-design workshop where you enter with an idea, but you end with a product that you designed with the community that the product's hoping to serve. So if you're interested at all, you should check out bigapps.nyc. There's a whole series of workshops, of co-design workshops, where you can learn what you need to build and also learn what you need to enter. And you can win not only, is there money? There's money. But the money is not the valuable part, I think, to me, yeah. But also you earn the mentorship, the network, and you'll be incubated out of Civic Hall Labs. Civic Hall is one of our greatest partners down in Flatiron, and Civic Hall Labs is going to help take these ideas and basically build them into real services. And the focus this year, the theme, is to help with issues facing youth and seniors and immigrants, which collectively that's like the majority of the population in New York City in those 3 groups. So we're really excited to be part of Big Apps this year. And if you're thinking about it, we're going to give valuable technology credits and vouchers to every single person that enters Big Apps through a program called BizSpark. So feel free to grab any of us afterwards, the Microsoft team here, and we'll hook you up with that. But yeah, check out bigapps.nyc.
Winning app gets installed on every event.
Yes, and if you guys have seen the Link NYC pylons, this was announced last night. The winning app is going to be installed on all of those Link NYC towers throughout the city. So that's pretty good user base from the get-go. Yeah, thanks, Ross. Cool. With that, I'm going to turn over back to John Paul Farmer. Thanks.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, Matt. So just a few weeks ago, the New York City Economic Development Corporation made a super exciting announcement. It's about 14th Street, where there was an old P.C. Richards, a one-story building. And the New York City Economic Development Corporation has been running a competition to see who could come up with the best plan for how to redevelop this site in a way that would create a new tech community there. And the winning bid was by Civic Hall. Civic Hall that you've just heard of, Civic Hall Labs. Civic Hall has been a great player in the civic tech community, a major convener, a magnet for civic tech activity here in New York and frankly around the world. And Civic Hall is now, we're excited to say, going to be anchoring this incredible new multi-story, I think it's 12 or 14 stories, the new building that's going to go up. It's going to have tens of thousands of square feet for civic tech activity. It's going to have tens of thousands more square feet for tech training programs for New Yorkers who need access to the tech skills that can bring them into the 21st century economy. So this is a few years away. We're probably looking at 2020 when it opens up, but we know what's happening now, and we should all be excited about what's coming because New York is just investing more and more in civic tech and empowering its own people with the tools they need to do good using technology. So we're pumped about that. Something else we're pretty pumped about are all the new Microsoft technologies that are out and are coming out this year. So if you've heard of HoloLens, raise your hand. All right, a lot of people. That's pretty cool. So head-mounted, wireless, mobile, holographic computing. It's here. It's out. Developers are building applications for it right now. What you see on screen are some architects using HoloLens to collaborate on a 3D holographic image, to be able to actually interact with it, to manipulate it. And having used it a few times in the last year, I have to say the capabilities and the potential are incredible. And we're going to be looking this year at how we can apply that specifically for civic purposes. Other things we're looking at are things like Surface Studio. Surface Studio was announced in the fall. It is an incredible immersive experience for creatives. So looking at how we can use some new tools to help New York City create and then to capture that creativity for civic good. So I'm going to bring it back to where we started. Every morning we're reborn. Every day is an opportunity. And no matter how daunting that day may seem or how powerless you feel, remember that you do have power because you're here and you care, and collectively, we have the ability to bring about whatever change we want to see. So let's not despair the passing of yesterday, but embrace rebirth. Embrace the gift of each day tomorrow and the next day and the next until we have no more days left. So cross that bridge, climb that mountain. Let's live life to the fullest, use our talents wherever they're needed, and make this world a better place we know it can be. Thanks so much for coming out tonight. We're going to hang out, have some drinks. If there's any food left, we'll find out. I know we ran out of plates, but plates are overrated. And honestly, we've said it a few times throughout this conversation tonight, but we mean it. If you've got ideas, if you've got things that you think we could be working on, we could be partnering on, things that should be priorities, let us know. We're all ears. So thanks so much for being here.